We announced on Friday, pretty close to the end of the program, that there was going to be a release of documents surrounding Bridgegate. 907 pages. 907 pages of documents on Bridgegate? What in the name? I mean, how is that even possible? When nobody knew anything. All there was that email from the woman, Mary Kay, whatever, I'm forgetting her last name. Time for some traffic problems in Fort Lee. And whoever got the email knew exactly what that meant, and they did it. And there are 907 pages. Now the feds, get this, if you haven't heard, the feds are looking into the money that Christie in New Jersey got for Hurricane Sandy relief to find out if there is a connection between any of that money and Bridgegate or anything else. And I sit here and I continue to be really shocked that the Republican Party thought an hour and 45-minute press conference could wipe all this away. That's the kind of naivete I had in year 2 of my program. I actually believed at one time that the media was interested in the truth. And that when they were asking me questions, it was because they wanted to know what I really thought. And thus, I actually thought I had a chance to persuade them of things. Whatever it be about me or my take on an issue or ideology. And I actually thought, and then when that didn't happen, and when I saw myself misquoted, taken out of context on purpose, I got mad. Said these people weren't even listening to what I was saying. I have good manners. I was raised to be polite. I was raised to answer people's questions. It took me a while to understand that the media don't care what I think or say, that that's not why they want to talk to me. The story's written before I'll give you an example. I can't tell. You can imagine. I had HR can tell you the number of requests from television, Good Morning America, Today Show, you name it, national and local, about Rush Revere and the Brave Program. Oh, we would love to talk to Rush about his children's book. And, of course, the publisher is just dying for, you got to do some TV. I mean, every author does TV. I said, I am not going to accept any of these. Why not? Because they don't want to talk to me about the book. They want to take the occasion to smear me on other things that they think they haven't had a chance to smear me on. Take your pick of anything controversial I've been. That's what the book is, just what they will tell me they want to talk about. And there might, in fact, be a couple questions about it, but that's not why they want to talk to me. Now, I learned this 23 years ago. I learned especially what, in my case, and I think every Republican ought to have this attitude, is why I'm sharing this. I don't mean to make this about me, but I know for a fact that when the media wants to talk to me about my book, that they don't. And using experience, guided by intelligence, I know what they would love to do. The vast majority of them, of course there are exceptions, the vast majority would love to do hit pieces with my participation. So I'm sitting here saying, why do these Beltway Republicans not also get this when they have experienced it themselves? When they have seen how Republicans, conservatives, whoever, are treated. You know, John Podhoretz in the New York Post over the weekend had a piece. I think it was Podhoretz. Yeah, it was. And it was a piece in which he was attempting to educate his readers into understanding that it was not just media bias that is causing the media to drop everything and try to expose Christie as a crook in Bridgegate, and why they left Obama alone in the IRS scandal. Podhoretz says a lot of people don't understand This is his opinion, by the way, and I don't totally subscribe to it, but there's a couple of elements of it that are correct. He says the reason why the media is going to the end of the earth to destroy Christie and why the IRS scandal is no big deal, it's not liberal versus conservative so much. It's personal. They are Obama. I've made this point, and they all go to the same schools. They all party together. I mean, they when the press looks at Obama, they see themselves. David Gregory sees himself, and he's not a crook. F. Chuck Todd looks at Obama, sees himself. Member of the D.C. establishment in good standing, card carrying, goes to the right restaurants, goes to the right cocktail parties, knows the right people, went to the same schools. They're one and the same. This is Podoritz's point, that they can't even conceive that Obama's a crook, because they're not in their minds. And they're all part of the same clique, and Obama happens to be the most popular guy in the clique, and there's no way. So if something happened to the IRS, it's because Obama didn't care, or people were doing it without his knowledge, like it would have happened with them. And Podoritz's point, there's no ideology to it. I mean, there's bias, but it's bias based on the fact that they're friends and associates, and they come from the same place, they go to the same places, and they're the same people. And Christie's not one of them. Try as hard as he might by embracing Obama a week before the election and doing this, but he's not one of them. A, he's a Republican, so he can't be one of them. But B, look at him. He's out of control. No discipline. He's a bully, does all this stuff. He's not one of them. Now, the fact that they are all liberals and Christie's not is also a factor, and I think it's more of a factor than Podoritz's does, but Podoritz's still has a point. And I'm not, the purpose of this is not to excuse the media for not going after Obama and the IRS. I'm just the point here is I don't understand why Republicans don't get this. Like you can look at all these Republican consultants and advisors who thought Christie hit a home run with that press conference. Man, he did it right. He came at it, and he didn't hide, and he took it all on himself, and he was factual, he was honest, and he was nice, and he was forthcoming, and he was engaging, he was charismatic. And that's not going to impress them. Christie can't impress them is the point. No Republican candidate. We're not one of them. And the sad thing is, I think that attitude that all you have to do to get the media off your back is please them, and it establishes that those people are already occupying a position in their own minds where they're inferior, and where they're defensive, and where they need to prove themselves, and where they need to make the other side like them. And I learned 2 years into my career that doing that's not possible. You cannot become one of them when you're not one of them. And you can't make them like you. Membership in that club, it's really strict and unique, and you don't get to admit yourself. Did they not see what happened with McCain? Or here's McCain loved and adored until he becomes a candidate. Then he becomes, the dirty old man kicking kids off his front yard. So that's what amazes me. What amazes me is that they, after all of this, after that hour-and-a-half press conference, they thought a home run had been hit, and they thought the media minds had been changed. And I get there. I'll guarantee they're sitting there stunned, folks, that this investigation is still underway, and that the feds are now involved because they thought that Christie had succeeded. They thought Christie knocked it out of the park. When it didn't matter whether he knocked it out of the park or not. This is the only guy beating Hillary in the polls, and they're going to go destroy this guy, whatever it takes. No matter what he says he believes, no matter policies of Obama's he signs on to or agrees with, or, doesn't join the Obamacare lawsuit, he cannot buy their affection. The only thing he can do is become one of them, and that's switch parties. And I jokingly suggested that's how he would get the presidential nomination, have to be on the Democrat side. Jokingly suggested it. A lot of people took it seriously, got mad. But that's why I'm sitting here. I'm marveling at two things here today. I'm marveling at the theory, the thinking, the strategy behind trying to get A-Rod out of his mess, which was just mind-boggling to me, a total waste of time. And this continuing feeling on the Republican side that they can gain acceptance by the media and the Washington culture. And so after that grand slam of a performance, now the feds are trying to find evidence that Christie might have misused Hurricane Sandy money, and they're trying to find out if he's lying about not knowing anything about Bridgegate. And they thought, the Republicans inside the Beltway, the establishment, they thought that this was ended because of Christie's great performance in a press conference. And I'm not passing judgment on whether it was a good performance. It's not my point. My point, they thought it was, and they thought that'd be enough. So, like Brian Lamb, he doesn't understand me. Well, I think I'm an open book, but it's clear and obvious now that at the highest levels, the Republican Party, they still don't know who and what they're up against.